Hello, Nope Coach Fam Bam. It's Suzanne Culberg. Welcome to episode 142 of the Nope Coach podcast, Turning Shit into Sugar. So I was recently chatting to a colleague and they told me that my superpower was reframing. Now, normally when I think of reframing in terms of coach speak, it's how to look at something from a different point of view, how to look at something from a different angle. And she was like, but it's more than that. And I was sitting with it and I was like, so you mean like turning shit into sugar? And she laughed and she said, yes. So, how do we make the best out of a bad situation? I think it can be so easy to look for the easy way out, to look for the quick fix, to look for the magic bullet. But for reals, turning shit into sugar is applying yourself with gusto, is applying creative solutions to a situation. It's not that you don't ever get discouraged, disheartened, downtrodden. It's not that you don't ever get angry or frustrated. But it's knowing that although you get discouraged, you just don't quit. You may pause, you may rest, but you don't quit. Because whatever your goal is, reaching your goals is going to take energy. But the good thing about energy is it's a renewable resource. You can always get more. So if you are feeling more towards the shit end and you're tired, then you can rest and recoup and renew your energy rather than pushing through and looking for the epiphany. It's instead sitting with I don't like to use the term struggle, but someone said to me recently, I can't remember if they said it to me or if I listened to it on a podcast myself, but they were like, stop looking for angels and start looking for angles. And I thought, oh my goodness, because when we do hit the wall, reach that point of utter exhaustion and a circling burnout, it can be a time where our victim archetype. Now, when I say archetype, just a reminder, or for anyone who's new to the podcast, an archetype is a pattern of behavior. It's like a mask that you put on or a hat that you put on. It's not all of who you are. So we all have a victim archetype or a victim pattern of behavior that comes to the surface or comes to the forefront, often in times of great stress or times of great duress. It does not mean that you are a victim. It means that pattern of behavior can come out. And we can, it's kind of like, I was recently really unwell. I had the flu and I just couldn't concentrate on anything. Nothing was landing. So I ended up watching reruns of Felicity. So that was a late 90s, early 2000s show. Felicity, the hair. Anyway, there's a character called Ben who ends up in quite a financial hardship situation and turns to gambling and then ends up in a total, shit situation there. When everything is really struggling and we're in that, victim archetype of behavior, we can be looking to be saved. So, I'm not saying it's never okay to gamble, like you do you, but if you spend or invest more than you are able to lose, if it's becoming that Hail Mary and you're looking for the angels, then that's an issue. And waiting for that winning lottery ticket or that person to extract us from the situation and save or rescue us, it's where we all have our weak points, and realizing that there isn't going to necessarily be an epiphany or a one-stop shot or a one-hit wonder or the home run that's going to get us out of this situation. It's sitting in it for the long haul and realizing that eventually you'll get there. Setbacks happen. Setbacks don't mean that you've failed or you aren't meant to be there or the universe is against you or anything like that. Setbacks are a part of life. And when it's how we respond to those setbacks that counts. How do we turn the shit into sugar? How do we make the best out of a bad situation rather than, as Ben does in the Felicity Show, digging in deeper by over-investing and gambling away what we do have and then more that we do have. So we ended up, being beat up by bookies and that kind of thing. So when I'm thinking of that, cliche as it is statement, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. But realizing that it's looking for creative solutions, or realizing that, you may be here for the long haul, but even the long haul isn't forever. You're going to get out of here eventually, but stop looking for that magic bullet, quick fix, savior, rescuer, and realizing, I've got myself into this shitty situation. I am the problem, but I'm also the solution. I don't need someone else or something else to rescue me. I can rescue myself. And sometimes in those bad situations, like when we have taken the effort to eventually dig ourselves out of there, when we've overcome those obstacles and those setbacks, then we can realize what we were there to learn. Today, as I'm recording this, I've been running a alumni retreat. So for anybody who's done Why Wait, which is my signature program, I invited any of the alumni back who were still on my mailing list and said, hey, let's have a retreat, a series of calls, just for, it was my gift to them. It was complimentary. And one of the things that we were looking at is, how we handle it when we hit the wall, when we're feeling discouraged, when we're feeling not motivated. How do we turn that lack of motivation, frustration, anger, discouragement into the momentum to keep going, to keep taking action, to realize that, where we are now is not where we're going to end up. And that's part of, the work. It's not instant. Like when you look to movies or TV shows, they end on a high. The hero defeats the villain, the person, does the full, comes to the end of the Odyssey, and, that is the end. Whereas real life isn't like that. And also too, what is the flip side of achieving your goals? When you've reached the level of success that you're after, there's going to be another peak. There's going to be another goal. There's going to be another dream. So how do we have both, as in enjoy what we currently have and strive for more? So there's a quote by Sophia Bush, which I absolutely love. You can be both a masterpiece and a work in progress at the same time. So, turning shit into sugar isn't like a Disney movie where before everything's terrible and after everything's amazing, but it's this constant to and fro and realizing, the momentum of where you are and allowing that to carry you forward through the ups and the downs of life. So, I invite you to consider, what is the situation right now that is suboptimal, is, you're feeling like you're in the shit. There's a quote my dad used to say, I'm always in the shit, only the depth varies. And how is that shaping you? Something else we talked about on the alumni retreat for Why Wait today. When Walt Disney first pitched the idea of Mickey Mouse, how many times was he rejected? Do you know that, listening to this? Because I asked the group, I said, how many times? And people put in the chat box, and some people said 5, 10, 20, 55, 70. It was actually 300 times. Now, how many of you listening, because I know sure as shit I would struggle with it, would have the wherewithal and the resilience and the grit to keep showing up, to keep pitching, to keep putting yourself forward after being knocked back 300 times? But what did Walt Disney learn through each of those rejections, through each of those knockbacks? Because who we become, through our failures, through our shitty times, the lessons that we learn carry us forward when things are flowing. Because how many times have you had something be successful right out of the gate, and then you couldn't back it up and you couldn't do it again and you couldn't bring it forward? Overcoming our failures or reframing our failures, or, turning the shit into sugar, all of those lessons help become the totality of who we are. It's not about waiting for the home run or the one strike that's going to, hit it out of the park. It's how you show up for yourself on the daily when you're feeling discouraged, when you're feeling resentful, when you're feeling angry. That becomes, who you are over the long term. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Speaking of Why Wait, if you're listening to this, close to when it releases, the next cohort begins on October 2nd, 2023. If you go to my website, suzanneculberg.com, it has all the description of the program. It has the price. I 100% believe in pricing transparency, so I always have prices on my website. Just don't say them on the show because it varies from round to round. This is shaping up to be the most epic round yet. It's going to be the last one of 2023. It may even be the last one in this format because I sense some changes coming. Why Wait is for you if you are feeling stuck, if you're feeling like you've hit the wall, if you're feeling like, I'm struggling to turn the shit into sugar. I'm struggling to say no to others and yes to myself. I'm struggling to keep showing up when I can't see the forest for the trees yet, to know that it is coming. This is the program for you. Even if you're introverted, I'm an introvert who runs a program. If you're highly sensitive, if you're shy, what I loved about the retreat today, bringing together, so many years of different Why Wait members, cameras on, cameras off, use the chat box, talk out loud, you do you, but, coming together in community to discuss these concepts, to dive deep, to journal, to bring them forward, to take the next step is powerful indeed. So I'd love to have you in the next cohort of Why Wait. If you want to talk to me about it, if you go to my website, once again, suzanneculberg.com, scroll down to the bottom, you can book in a time and we can have a chat about whether this is the program for you. I would love to invite you into the circle. Thank you for tuning in. Catch you on the next one. Bye for now.